Brooklyn, Iowa bills itself as the community of flags, a place where you'll find a large display of flags from all 50 states and the 4 branches of the military. It's nestled between 2 brooks, Big Bear Creek and Little Bear Creek, and that's how the town got its name. It was home to Mollie Tibbetts, a student at the University of Iowa. In the summer of 2018, she was on her summer break, and like many of the residents in this rural town, she felt safe enough to go jogging alone. July 18th would be the last time anyone would see her alive. Her mother told the local newspaper that she knew something wasn't right.
She didn't come home, and then we got a call that she didn't go to work the next day. And so I knew something was horribly wrong.
Tibbetts' disappearance sparked one of the largest manhunts in Iowa history and garnered intense media coverage. Her mother was grateful for the support from near and far.
From the collective souls of all of Mollie's family and friends, the efforts that have been put in from the people in this town, in this county, in this state, in this country, and across the world. We appreciate every act that has been bestowed upon us.
The body of 20-year-old Mollie Tibbetts was found in a cornfield about a month after she disappeared. Autopsy results show she was stabbed to death. During the search for her, police interviewed and searched the vehicles and properties of 4 men. One was a neighbor of Tibbetts who washed his car hours after she disappeared. Another man was an acquaintance who erased his cell phone data. The third was a Nebraska man who ditched a vehicle nearby. And the fourth was a farmer with a history of stalking women. Then in mid-August, investigators focused on 25-year-old Cristhian Rivera. Rivera was linked to a vehicle seen on surveillance video that appeared to be stalking Tibbetts while she was jogging. Rivera is a native of Mexico and suspected of living illegally in the U.S. since he was a teenager. Police picked up Rivera on August 20th, 2018, from the dairy farm where he worked and questioned him for several hours. Investigators say Rivera eventually led them to the cornfield where they found Tibbetts' body.
It's right in the middle of the cornfield. He told us that's where we would find her. After that second set of instructions from him, she was found within a few minutes.
But Rivera's attorneys disputed the voluntariness of his confession. One of the officers admitting making an honest mistake by not reading him all of his rights pursuant to Miranda versus Arizona. After a contentious suppression hearing, the judge ruled some of Rivera's statements are inadmissible, but the evidence leading them to Tibbetts' body comes in, as does other statements Rivera made after being completely advised of his rights. Rivera is set to go on trial on a charge of first-degree murder.
And joining us tonight from Waterloo, Iowa, great attorney. You saw her in a trial right here on Court TV. Nicole Watt, an assistant public defender, joins us. Nicole, great to see you again.
Hello.
Let me start here, okay? I'm the former prosecutor. I've got a confession. What are you going to do at trial when I break out the confession? Is there any way that you see in this case the defense trying to minimize the impact that evidence will have?
I think they've got no choice but to try and minimize the confession. And, they're just going to have to use the facts that the confession or the interrogation was hours long. He didn't really understand what was going on. He didn't understand that he had a right to a lawyer, isn't from here, isn't familiar with our procedures, and basically say it was coerced.
So let's say they have some level of success there. How much time do you think this defense team will spend on the 4 other suspects who were actually investigated in this case? This is so unusual. It's like an episode of Law & Order where there are actual other suspects who at first glance look like, yeah, they could have done it. How much time do you spend on those? Because obviously at least 3 of them are completely innocent, even if police got it wrong here.
Well, I don't know if they're going to spend a lot of time on these other unknown people, because that does ultimately end up in the defense trying to prove who it was when that's not what their burden should be. In reading some of the filings earlier today, though, they might be trying to point some fingers at her ex-boyfriend because he seems awfully important to them. I was reading that he's on deployment, I guess, overseas, and they're insisting that they be able to call him to trial as he's a crucial witness for their defense. So it sounds like they're going to be pointing the finger at him rather than those other 4 suspects.
A 5th suspect. Interesting. I mean, that's fascinating. Let's talk about the case. It's super high profile. And in, I would say, most of the cases we cover on Court TV, not all, but most of them, they end up getting moved somewhere else. My understanding is this case has been moved to, is it Scott County?
Yes, it's now in Scott County.
And what can you tell us about Scott County? I've never, ever been close to Scott County.
Well, I would say it's probably further away from Poweshiek, but no matter where you go in Iowa, everybody is going to have heard of this case and be familiar with it. So I think they're going to have an uphill battle with that no matter where they land. But at least Scott County has a greater population than Poweshiek, and so maybe some chance at a couple of people who don't know anything about the case.
What are your thoughts about the language issue and the way that plays here? Now, you've already told us it could be used perhaps to mitigate and minimize the confession because of the language difference. He's been in this country for a while, but how much does that, you think, impact the flow of the case? Does it help one side over the other?
I think the only way it's helping the defense is to try and excuse the confession and explain how in the world that could have happened if it weren't true. I think that it will probably slow down the trial itself because they're going to have the interpreters there who are going to be, needing breaks and things like that and constantly repeating everything that's being said into some headphones on the defendant.
Do you think there's any chance that he takes the witness stand?
I'm worried that if he did, that he would, completely wreck the entire case for himself because of the language issue, number one, and also because I'm pretty sure even the parts that had been suppressed of his confession would then be able to be used against him in cross-examination by the prosecution. And so they risk opening the door for all that additional evidence as well. So it seems like that'd be a bad strategy to put him on the stand.
All right, Nicole Watt joining us tonight from Iowa. Thank you so much, Nicole.